I think it would absolutely be catastrophic if they don't play a 2026 season. The viewers are not going to follow. They're truly not going to.
The WNBA Players Union just gave the green light for a strike. On the surface, it feels like a classic power move. But when you really look at it, it seems more like a catastrophic bluff made with almost no leverage. This vote, which happened in the dead of the offseason, isn't a threat to the owners. It's a threat to the league's incredible momentum, and the players are the ones who will pay the highest price. What we're witnessing here isn't just another contract dispute. It feels like self-sabotage. After a season of mind-blowing growth, we're already here. This isn't just a negotiation tactic. It's a gamble that could burn the whole house down. Around mid-December 2025, the WNBA Players Association announced the results of a league-wide vote.
93% of the players participated in the vote. So 154 players voted, and 3 players, so only 3 players voted no.
With a massive 93% of players participating, an overwhelming 98% voted to authorize their executive committee to call a strike when necessary. This is being called a historic step in the WNBA's 29-year history. Now, to be clear, this is not a strike yet. The players aren't walking off the court tomorrow. Instead, this vote gives a 7-player executive committee the power to call a work stoppage. They're negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, and the current deadline is January 9th, 2026, after it was already pushed back.
Because if a strike or a lockout happens, it's going to hurt those middle tier and lower tier players. I would say that these 3 players were probably players who aren't big time players.
The union can't just strike on a whim. Under the current extension, they have to give 48 hours notice to terminate the agreement before any stoppage can happen. The union framed this as a necessary move, claiming the league is showing resistance to change. Their statement was powerful. Let it be known. The players remain united, resolute, and prepared to fight for their value and their future. It's a picture of solidarity, right? But once you look past the press release and analyze the strategy, the cracks start to show and a much more troubling picture emerges. The first and most obvious problem here is the timing. You authorize a strike during the off-season, there are no games, no tickets being sold, and no TV money coming in. A strike threat only works when you can stop the product and choke off the revenue. Threatening to not show up for work when you're already not working is like threatening to hold your breath. The owners can just wait. This gives the league all the time in the world to plan, to craft a message, and to ultimately call the players' bluff. Sure, a strike could mess with the expansion draft and free agency, but the season itself doesn't start until May. That's months from now. This isn't a power move that corners the owners. It's a PR tactic that hands them a huge strategic advantage. They can control the narrative and just wait out the union. And let's be real about the league's finances. For much of its history, the WNBA has reportedly operated at a loss, subsidized by its big brother, the NBA. While things are looking up, the owners are not existentially threatened by a delayed season in the way that players, with shorter careers and smaller bank accounts, are. They can absorb a financial hit far better than the players can. Announcing this threat so early doesn't apply pressure, it relieves it. It hands all the leverage to the other side of the table and turns this into a waiting game. A game the players just aren't equipped to win. What makes this blunder so much worse is that the WNBA is on the edge of a golden age. The 2025 season continued the incredible growth from the year before, which saw viewership and attendance records shattered. The Caitlin Clark effect brought millions of new fans to the sport, creating a level of buzz the league has never seen. For the first time, the WNBA wasn't just a niche league, it was part of the national conversation. A messy public labor war is the fastest way to kill that momentum stone dead. New fans who got hooked by the amazing talent and on-court drama aren't going to stick around for a fight over revenue splits. They'll just change the channel. Sponsors who are just starting to pour in real money will get nervous. The story shifts from unstoppable growth to internal chaos. We've seen this movie before. The 1994 MLB strike alienated a whole generation of baseball fans. The NHL has had lockouts that stalled its growth for years. When your product is white hot, the very last thing you do is take it off the market. To paraphrase Caitlin Clark, this is a massive moment for the league, and it can't be messed up. Yet this move seems determined to do just that, risking the fan base and scaring away the exact people the league needs to reach the next level. This brings us to the most painful part of all this. A work stoppage will hurt the players far, far more than the owners. Billionaire owners have other businesses. WNBA players have short careers. While we hear about the superstars, many players rely on their WNBA salary and the platform it gives them to get bigger contracts overseas. A canceled season isn't just an inconvenience for them, it's a financial disaster. It cuts off their income, shortens their already limited earning window, and pulls them out of the spotlight, which hurts their marketability. And this is where that vote gets really interesting. 98% voted yes, but that means a few players, reportedly 3 of them, voted no. We don't know who they are, but it's not hard to guess what they represent. The rank-and-file players. The ones who don't have million-dollar endorsement deals or a new sneaker line. They're the silent minority, who know they will be the first casualties in this labor war. They're the ones who will be forced to sacrifice their paychecks for a high-stakes gamble being led by a committee of stars. The superstars can weather this storm. The players on the end of the bench can't. This isn't a fight where everyone shares the same risk, it's a strategy where the most vulnerable are put on the front lines. To be perfectly clear, the players are right to want more. Their fight is justified. They are demanding a bigger piece of the pie, with reports suggesting they've countered with a 30% revenue share, a huge jump from a model that reportedly gives them under 15%. They're fighting for better travel, better benefits, and a fair cut of the league's growing media deals. As Union Vice President Kelsey Plum said, the talks have been disheartening. These are all legitimate goals, but a strategy has to be based in reality. According to reports, the league has actually put a significant offer on the table. It includes an uncapped revenue-sharing model, which would tie player pay directly to league growth. This proposal would reportedly push max salaries over $1.3 million and raise minimum salaries to over $250,000 in the very first year. The union has publicly blasted the league's offers in harsh terms. The league, in turn, says it strongly disagrees with the WNBPA's characterization of the current state of negotiations. This is where the PR battle takes over. While the players' demands are valid, publicly trashing what seems to be a substantial offer while making a powerless off-season strike threat feels less like a negotiation and more like a declaration of war, a war where they're bringing a knife to a gunfight. And that leads to the most awkward question of all: are all the players really fighting the same war? There's a potential conflict of interest at the top of the WNBPA that we have to talk about. 2 of the most prominent members of the executive committee, Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, are also the co-founders of Unrivaled, a new 3-on-3 league. These new leagues are presented as off-season opportunities, but they are also competitors for talent, investment, and attention. If a WNBA labor dispute were to delay or cancel the 2026 season, which league stands to benefit? Unrivaled. It could suddenly become a premier destination for women's basketball in the summer. This creates a really troubling dynamic. The very people negotiating a deal for the WNBA also have a financial stake in a rival league that could gain from a negotiation failure. Now, both Collier and Stewart have denied any conflict, arguing a lockout hurts everyone and that their goal is to lift up women's basketball as a whole. But you can't ignore the perception. Can you truly negotiate in good faith to save a season when you co-own a business that might benefit if that season never happens? It fractures that whole narrative of unwavering solidarity. The interests of a superstar who owns a rival league are just different from the interests of a rookie on a minimum deal whose entire career depends on the WNBA playing its games. Ultimately, this looks like a massive strategic error. The players' goal for more money is just and fair, but their tactics are deeply flawed. Authorizing a strike in the middle of the offseason is a bluff from a position of weakness. It puts the league's historic momentum at risk and threatens to turn off the new fans it desperately needs. Most importantly, it puts the heaviest burden on the players who can least afford it, all while the union leadership faces real questions about conflicts of interest. This isn't about players being greedy. It's about a union leadership that seems to be overplaying a weak hand and gambling with the future of the entire sport. A deal will probably get done. A real strike would be devastating for both sides. But this public posturing has already done damage, creating chaos and uncertainty at the exact moment the WNBA should be taking a victory lap. But this isn't just about PR, it's about the hard numbers behind the scenes. According to reports from mid-December 2025, the gap between the two sides is a literal canyon. The union is reportedly pushing for a 30% share of total league and team revenue, a massive jump for a group that has historically received less than 15%. They've even proposed a sliding scale that would see that share grow to 34% by the end of the deal. They want the salary cap tied directly to the previous season's gross revenue, ensuring that as the league explodes, the players don't just get a fixed 3% raise, but a genuine piece of the pie. On the other side, the league claims its offer is already transformational. We're talking about a proposal that would reportedly push the maximum salary to over $1.3 million and the average player salary to $530,000. For a league where the supermax was just under $250,000 only a year ago, that is an objective leap. Even the proposed minimum salary would jump to over $250,000 in the first year alone. To the average fan, hearing that a player might reject a deal that quadruples the minimum wage sounds less like a fight for value and more like a disconnect from reality. The risk here is that the players are miscalculating their market moment. The 2025 season was a statistical juggernaut. We saw an all-time attendance high of 3.15 million fans, a staggering 34% increase over the previous year. New franchises like the Golden State Valkyries were selling out every single home game, averaging over 18,000 fans. Television viewership for the regular season averaged nearly 1 million viewers per game, with some matchups peaking at 2.7 million. This is the white-hot product I'm talking about. When you have that kind of growth, you feed the fire, you don't pour water on it. If the January 9 deadline passes and we enter a status quo period where a strike becomes a daily possibility, that momentum hits a wall. The expansion draft for new teams in Toronto and Portland stalled. Free agency frozen. You're effectively holding the league's future hostage while the iron is at its hottest. And let's talk about the unrivaled factor. It is impossible to ignore that while these negotiations are stalling, the new 3-on-3 league co-founded by union leadership is preparing to launch. Unrivaled offers an average salary of $220,000 for just 8 weeks of work. If the WNBA season is delayed or canceled, where do you think the cameras, the sponsors, and the players are going to go? The optics are brutal. Union leaders steering the WNBA toward a work stoppage while simultaneously building a private life raft that could profit from the chaos. This isn't just a bluff. It's a high-stakes game of chicken where the players are driving a much smaller car. The owners have the capital to wait. The fans have other sports to watch, but the players only have a few years to make their mark and secure their financial futures. By authorizing a strike now, the union might be trying to project strength, but they're actually exposing their greatest vulnerability, the fact that the league can survive a delay much better than the players can. If they aren't careful, the golden age of the WNBA won't be remembered for its records or its stars. It'll be remembered as the era where the league finally found its footing, only to trip over its own feet at the finish line. But hey, that's just my take. What do you think? Is this a brilliant power play by the players, or a huge mistake that's going to backfire? Let me know in the comments below.